Hello again everyone and welcome back to the Carnival Club here at betting.club as we close in on one of the great days of the Australian turf. It's Victoria Derby Day, 4 Group 1s, a fabulous card on the Saturday, and of course that leads up to the great race, the race that stops the nation, the Group 1 Melbourne Cup over 2 Mile on Tuesday. Plenty to get through. We did have some joy last week. I hope you're back. Jamaica and the United States at the Valley on Cox Plate Day, and we're trying to steer you in. Look at those markets, of course, which are moving around all the time. Do check the prices at the betting club and try and get that good value. Already some big news today, looking forward to the Melbourne Cup. But let's start Derby Day with the race itself for the 3-year-olds. Group 1 Victoria Derby over 2,500 metres. Let's go to the betting.club market. Tarzino has pretty much been the favourite, all the rage early. Around 245 is a very competitive price at betting.club. Then you've got the unbeaten WA horse Kia Ora Kutu around the $8 mark. Extra choice at 11. And then some good value around these runners. They're Derby style horses. $12 for Lizard Island and Get the Picture. Also for Pay Up Row. Out you go to longer price, $13 for Shards and $17 Etymology. There might be a sneaky hope at odds. Looking at the race, look, I think it's a very weak derby this year. That's not to say it won't be very competitive over the last furlong. Tarzino is getting out to a very backable price. It's had a lovely preparation. Flew home behind Jamaica, of course, in the Group 2 bars. And we've seen how Jamaica has franked that form coming out and winning. So the preparation for Tarzino comes through that Group 1 Caulfield Guineas, of course, behind Press Statement. So real quality preparation arrives for the Derby at the perfect time. I do think it's the one to beat. Kia Ora Kutu, 4 from 4 in the West. Wasn't that long ago. It was a maiden a few months back at Pinjarra. Hard to see how it's $8 on the second line of betting, but look, I'm sure they're very confident over there in the West. I'm going to steer around. The one for me, the real value here is Get the Picture. That's been rattling home nicely and really finishing off in the lead-up races. The Norman Robertson was 4th, closing well, and also at the Valley, the Bill Stutt over a mile, flew home late. Getting now to 2,500 metres of the Derby, look out for Get the Picture. I think it's the real value in the race. For that reason, I'm going to put it on top. Look for that big price at betting.club. Get the Picture to win the Victoria Derby for me. Obviously, Tarzino I have to leave in the favourite for second. Lizard Island gets my 3rd place. Again, another horse looking for Flemington that's been hitting the line well. And I'll leave the WA unbeaten gelding Kia Ora Kutu in for 4th. But at the value, Get the Picture, $12. Jump on that. I think it can win the Victoria Derby. We move now to the Group 1 McKinnon Stakes for the weight for age horses, over 2,000 metres. It's race 6 on the card, very competitive market, all sorts of form lines. Magic Hurricane around the $5 mark is the favourite at betting.club. The Metrop winner, of course, missed a run in the Caulfield Cup. Stratum Star $7, $8.50 Flamingo Stars had a very good preparation. And then you get out to the old war horse, weight for age horses. Happy Trails around $9, Faulkner 10, might get a bit longer than that. Pornichet 10, Contributor will it fire 4th up around the $10 mark as well, and further out to Magic Artist at $13. Well, how do you line this up? So a lot of these horses are coming out of the Cox Plate where they were soundly beaten on a track that was red hot for the rails. We saw what Wink's done. I'm not so keen to invest in a horse backing up 7 days from a torrid Cox Plate run. For that reason, I'm going to put Contributor at the value around that 10-1 mark on top. Was well held in the Caulfield Stakes, but I think its run in the Underwood just before that was an indication that the real Contributor is not far away. This is 4th up into the prep. I think it's a lovely trip, 2,000 metres at Flemington. So at the value, Contributor to win race 6 for me. I'll leave Magic Hurricane, who's dying to win, or the stable dying to win a big one in Victoria for this horse. Will probably run a wide favourite in for second. Flamingo Star, I think, has been very well prepared for this sort of trip for 3rd, and the old war horse Happy Trails was a very big run, of course, behind Criterion in the Caulfield Stakes, and out the back, of course, in the Cox Plate. But I think Happy Trails, very honest, can run into the first 4. But Contributor at the big price to win the Group 1 McKinnon Stakes. For me, let's go down to the Myers Classic, a great race, one of the best of the day. The Group 1 Mire for the fillies and mares over a mile. Stay with me, the only 3-year-old in the race, of course, the 1,000 Guineas winner. It's the $4 favourite. It has been supported at betting.club. Royal Descent back from the Caulfield Cup. It's a $6 shot in the race on the second line. Then you go out to Ascadelia, who's been flying home from the back. It's going to be a real chance around the $8 mark. You can see it's an open market. Mr. Rose de Largo 10, May's Dream, Politeness, Abide With Me, they're all around the $12 mark. And then you go out to further. Now, we need to go out further here because there's a horse here called Fenway, which is into $15. Now, this is a horse, a Group 1 winner from the autumn, Fenway, who dropped right out in the Coonji, and everyone scratched their head, what's wrong with Fenway? The mare was heavily in season. They scoped the horse sideways and really, apart from that, found nothing wrong. So look out for a big bounce back here from Fenway in the Group 1 mire. I think she'll start shorter than 15, so why don't you join me and hop aboard at a big price and back Fenway. As Cordelia is a horse I've got a lot of time for. It will be flying home over the mile here at Flemington. Look out if she gets a clear run from the 400 metres. Royal Descent, fabulous mare, a lot of quality, a lot of class. Not worried by dropping back from the big trip, the mile and a half from the Caulfield Cup back to the mile of the mire here. She's versatile, she can park where she wants. I've got to leave Royal Descent in. And the 3-year-old right down there at 49 kilos, the 1,000 guineas winner, Stay With Me. Look, at the weight, she has to be a chance. She's going enormous. This is the big test. I'll leave her in for 4th, but I'm going right out of the market. Fenway at huge odds to bounce back and win the Group 1 mire. Then we go to the down the famous Flemington Straight, the Group 1 Coolmore Classic, over 1,200 metres for the sprinters. And you should see here one of the great sprinters in the world from Sydney, the Colt Exosphere, who's stormed back into this prep, goes down to Melbourne now. It's a hot, round about the $1.40, $1.45 favourite. Watch that market. I tell you what, if it slips out to 150, 160, come charging for Exosphere. Drawn the fence. I think the punters will be happy if they sort of merge into a bunch and get away from the fence, but Jimmy Max knows his horse pretty well, and don't be surprised if he even gets out a little slowly and moves across the back of the field and then launches late. But I think Exosphere will win the Coolmore. No doubt the Quinella horse for me is Keen Array, that's won 4 of its last 5. Now it's been learnt to not just race on the speed, but come from off the pace as it did in the listed Blue Sapphire. I think Keen Array is the Quinella horse. And you know, they get much longer in the market for that. In fact, $11 Keen Array, you've got to go out to $15 before you get to the next line. Ready for Victory in Sebring Sun are the 2 horses for me you should play in the trifectas and the first 4s. But certainly Exosphere to win the Group 1 Coolmore. To beat Keen Array, make sure you have that Quinella. Then we go to the Group 2s. That's the Group 1 look at betting.club on Derby Day. Let's go to the Group 2, of course, very important. The Lexus Stakes over 2,500 metres. The winner of this, exempt from the Melbourne Cup, goes into the Melbourne Cup. So always a lot riding on this. $5.50 Havana Cooler, been very well backed in the last 24 hours. Big third in the Metrop, of course. And if you look at its form, almost behind good horses. This is a lovely trip. The stable's super keen to get into the Cup. Excess Knowledge, a massive run in the Herbert Power behind Emrella. It's on the second line at $6. Ruling Dynasty 6, El Hamia $7.50. Bohemian Lily, the mare at $9. And one out in the market, I think, the chance is the $10 shot Zenteca. Now this is a tough test, but it's really on the up. Then you get out to longer price ones, Chance to Dance, Janoob, and even old Hawkesbury, they tell me, has been working very well in track work through the week. Always a wide open race, the Lexus. Luck will play a part here, but I really like Excess Knowledge. Around about that $6 mark is plenty to back for me. It was a massive effort behind Emrella in the Herbert Power. Covered ground, didn't have much luck, still found the line. And I really think anything that beats Excess Knowledge will win this race. So on top, Excess Knowledge. Havana Cool has been beautifully prepared for the Lexus. Put it in for second. And look out for Zenteca, that horse. Double figure odds. Only coming out of a benchmark 78 at Geelong. But this horse is on the up. It's a classic staying type horse. Will sit off them and get home very hard. So certainly putting Zenteca in to run third. But very keen, Excess Knowledge to win the Group 2 Lexus and grab that spot in the Melbourne Cup. And finally, while we talk about the Melbourne Cup after Derby Day, the final field will be prepared. Tuesday, the massive countdown to the great race. Now, of course, the big news, Mongolian Khan almost certainly not going to start, has a bout of colic. That's already moved an adjustment of the market at betting.club. So do check those prices. Fame Game, all the rage. But $4.20 we're betting. And that's a competitive price for Fame Game. Trip to Paris around $8. Then there's another gap out to Preferment. There's a lot of support and money starting to build for Preferment. In now to around about the $11 mark. Then there's another little gap to Criterion and Max Dynamite around that $15 mark. Amrella, I mentioned him, of course. The Herbert Power winners around 15. Then you get out to, virtually to $21 then. Bondi Beach, Snow Sky, the United States, of course, a fabulous winner. there at Moonee Valley last week, and get out to longer prices, 23, 26, Who Shot the Bum and Hocko Brave, those sort of horses. So that's the movement in the Melbourne Cup. We're going to talk a lot more about this, but for me, I think there's one massive value in this race. Snow Sky, around about anyone, $21 to $26 mark. No luck in the Caulfield Cup. Sat behind the leaders, did not get a crack at them until it was way too late. I think, particularly if this horse draws a gate, massive odds. So for those who like a price, Snow Sky on top to win the Melbourne Cup. Obviously Fame Game, the pure Japanese bred horse, probably should have won the Caulfield Cup, and the reports are very good that Fame Game, suited over the 2 mile at Flemington, will be flying home. Leave Fame Game in for second. And the other one at a big price, and it should sneak into the field, is the United States, who did the job for us on Saturday at the Valley, around about that $21, $26 mark. I think will give you a fabulous sight as well. So they're my top three. Mentions to Max Dynamite. First up, of course, this overseas horse, a chance. And I think Criterion, the way it's going, Chased Home Wings in the Cox Plate, I think it's a super chance at around about that $14 mark. Keep in mind we're betting or paying out on the top 5 places each way in the Melbourne Cup, and there's even bonus bet refunds if you run last, second last or third last. So even if you're at the back, you're still at the front. So there's so much to look forward to in the 2015 Melbourne Cup at betting.club. But that's the way I see it. Snow Sky, massive price, grab it now. It's going to cause the upset in the Melbourne Cup. That's our look now at the Carnival Club. Don't forget to go to betting.club and see all the wonderful specials over the next 4 or 5 days in the turf world as we get right into the heart of the spring. Good luck to all the punters. I hope you finish on top, and I'll see you next time right here on the Carnival Club.